You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Hi, welcome to another Cold Fusion video. Over the past year, many times I've gotten the request to create a video production on the topic of Tata. At first, I didn't really see why there was such a demand, but as I learned more about the company, it became clear that there was something very unique here. I have to admit, before I completed the research, I really didn't know much about Tata, besides the fact that they made cars that were nowhere to be found in Australia, the US, and Europe. In fact, the only place I'd seen them was in India during my travels. Today, Tata now owns companies such as Jaguar and Land Rover, but this is really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the breadth of their industry activities. So how did Tata become the multinational giant that it is today, and just how big is it? In this video, we'll find out. For those of you that are from Western nations and are probably unaware of this company, this video may widen your perspectives a little. Let's begin. As far as modern day companies go, Tata is a very old company, older than the automobile, powered flight, and household electricity. The company was founded way back in 1868 by Jamsetji Narsawandji Tata. In retrospect, after Tata's success, some have hailed J. Tata as one of the founders of modern India. Born in 1839, J. Tata's first professional role was working in his father's banking firm outside of Mumbai, India, coincidentally where I was born. There were some key events in J. Tata's life that would shape the history of India and eventually help shape the global business landscape. It would be travel that opened his eyes. J. Tata travelled to England, America, and Europe for business, and through his opportunistic mind, he saw that Indian companies could make a large impact in the textile industry, which was dominated by the British at the time. In 1868, after learning from his time working in his father's banking firm, a 29-year-old Tata bought an old oil mill and converted it into a cotton mill. This seemingly insignificant event was the very beginning of the multinational giant. J. Tata always had the inclination to care greatly for the people of India and had an interest in giving back. This is outlined by J. Tata's 4 dream goals. During his life, Tata strived for 4 simple goals within his heart. They were to create an iron and steel company, a world-class education institution, a hotel, and a hydroelectric plant. It would only be the hotel that was to become a reality during Tata's life. It was completed 1 year before J. Tata's death in 1903. In 1907, Tata's son, Dorab, would push to realise his dad's dream of Tata Steel, Asia's first and India's largest steel company. In 1911, the third dream was completed in the form of the Indian Institute of Science, the preeminent Indian institution for research and education in science and engineering. The final piece of J. Tata's original dream was realised in 1915 when Dorab set up Tata Hydroelectronic Power Supply Company, now currently India's largest private electric company. So to do so many things in so little time may seem like immense innovation for the early 20th century, but there's a bigger picture to this. Tata as a company was thinking differently even when compared to global practice at the time. To give you an idea of how forward-thinking Tata was for the time, they started the 8-hour workday in 1912 and were one of the first companies in the world to implement the now standard practice. In 1917, the company introduced medical benefits for employees, a very advanced business concept for the time. Since J. Tata's founding of the company in 1868, the reins have been handed down to multiple generations. The company's DNA would ensure success in the future. Today, Tata operates 100 companies in more than 100 countries and exports to 150 countries. So that's all nice, but how big is Tata exactly, and what do they do? Well, in 2014, the company made $103.27 billion in revenue, in which 67% came from business outside of India. The Tata companies employ more than 581,000 people worldwide. That's more than Samsung Group, by the way. Tata is ranked 34th among the top 500 most valuable global brands according to Brand Finance's Global 500 2014 report. So that gives you an idea of financial size, but what do they do? Let's take a closer look at some of Tata's companies. We've got Tata Steel, Tata Motors, consultancy services, chemicals, global beverages, teleservices, communications and Indian hotels, Tata Ceramics, power, Tata Starbucks, Tata Industry, Tata Sky, landmark bookstores, and the list goes on. And just to top it off, Tata actually owns the South Korean car manufacturer Daewoo. But that isn't all. Tata has actually formed a habit of buying up British companies. It's rather ironic if you know the 19th and 20th century relations between India and Britain. In 2000, they bought up the British company Tetley Tea for $407 million. And then next, there was Jaguar and Land Rover in 2008 after the GFC for $2.3 billion. It's quite an interesting story. In 1999, Ratan Tata and his team were humiliated when they went to sell Tata's motor division to Ford due to a poor response after a launch of a hatchback, which happened to be Tata's first passenger car. The American Ford officials showed interest in taking over the company, but did so in a harsh manner. They told Tata, "You do not know anything. Why did you start a passenger car division at all?" They said they'll do Tata a favour by buying the car division. But as it turns out, the deal didn't end up going through between Tata and Ford. At the time, Ford owned Jaguar and Land Rover and couldn't really work out how to get the cars to sell. By 2008, things had gotten so bad that Ford had to sell Jaguar and Land Rover to the very company they had said a few years earlier were useless. Today, Tata has turned Jaguar and Land Rover around, and sales are doing well in the US.
Costs from Jaguar Land Rover. A quick mention on the headline figures that we saw coming out from Tata Motors yesterday. Net profits have increased to $771 million. Net sales, on the other hand, have jumped 38% to about 63,000 odd crore rupees. Now, sales at Jaguar Land Rover have jumped 19%, driven largely because of the demand that we've seen coming in both from the F-Type as well as the XJ.
Okay, so far in terms of size, Tata may sound like a few other multinational conglomerates, but the surprising difference here is that Tata is actually very successful in many of their fields. For instance, Tata Communications is the world's largest wholesale voice carrier, and Tata Motors is among the top 5 commercial vehicle manufacturers in the world. Their steel division is among the top 10 best steel makers. The Communication Services division is among the top 10 global IT service companies. The Global Beverages division is the second largest tea company in the world, and their Chemical division is the world's second largest manufacturer of soda ash, which is used for the manufacturing of glass. Another aspect which makes Tata different, and one of the reasons why I've grown to appreciate them at least as a company, is their nature. Tata carries on its founders' caring attitude, and as a result, they have a sort of self-imposed moral obligation. What do I mean by this? The company has actually made it a habit to return some of its wealth to society, mainly through providing investments back into the local economy. This is not only true within India, but in many countries around the globe. Tata is also very active in philanthropy. Through its trusts, the company gives back in areas of medical research, technology, science, education, social welfare, and healthcare. One example is the Tata Swatch, a compact in-home purification device that costs less than $21 US. The idea of the Tata Swatch came to being from the 2004 tsunami, which left thousands of people without clean drinking water. The device has filters that last about 1 year for a family of 5. The advantage of this device is that it does not require any electricity and is very low cost. Due to activities like this, in 2009, the Tata Group was ranked number 11 in the world's top 100 reputable companies by Forbes magazine. So there you have it. A true multinational conglomerate with a bit of difference. All in all, it's amazing that just one man could leave a legacy that has lasted over a century. Let's finish off with a quote from J. Tata himself. In a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder in the business, but in fact, the very existence of it. What he said rings as true today as it did over 100 years ago. Companies really need to listen to their communities and users. And one last cool fact, J. Tata has even founded a city in India that now has over 1.3 million people. I hope you enjoyed that video about the history and size of Tata. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment and subscribe if you're new. If you want to know more about the history, size, and interesting facts about other companies, hang around for the next 10 seconds and follow the prompts on your screen. This has been Dagogo, you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll see you again soon for the next video. Cheers guys, have a good one.
Cold Fusion. It's new thinking.